Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother, Mufasa Mujadid Al-Hama. Praise and glory belongs to Allah, the eternal absolute, who created all things and inspired whatever He wanted to inspire and guided us to the best course that He ordained. Today, we have a topic that has been coming up lately, dealing with certain people in the Egyptology or Kemetic beliefs, who for some odd reason continuously want to keep trying to get people not to be Muslim. So I wanted to, point out some things according to their priests, what you would call scholars or ulama or learned ones. And I just wanted you to reflect on some of the logic. But before I bring these couple things up, and I will probably, inshallah, be doing a series here, I want to read a couple ayats to you. And I want you to think of this while you're watching this to see if this fits. Okay. Surah 53, ayat 23. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about those who associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are but names you have named, you and your ancestors, for which Allah has not sent down any authority. They follow nothing except guesswork, assumption, and whatever their hearts or minds desire. Remember this. They follow nothing but guesswork, what they guess up, what they dream up, what they think up, and what their hearts desire, what their mind desires. Another ayat in Surah 6, ayat 116 says, they do nothing but assume, conjecture, zanna, and they do nothing but lie, yaksharasun. The thing is that you will find that they will say, well, study the planets and the stars, and then they will come up with an idea from that and, then apply that as part of culture or tradition. So I want to point out to you, not something that I'm saying, but something that they're saying. And before I do this, I want you to understand that I myself do believe that all oppressors should be dealt with, especially those who have taken our people into slavery. And it doesn't matter whether they say they are Muslim or not. If you're going around just snatching people up, putting them in slavery, then that's called fasad, mischief on the earth. And the punishment for that is death. So let this not be an issue of whether somebody is being some people would label anti-African, anti-black or something like that. This is an issue dealing with logic. Okay? So I want to point your attention to some beliefs now with reference to those ayats, and I want to know from your view if the Quran, according to those ayats, are speaking correct on this issue. So we're going to begin. The person that we are going to put up here is a priestess of chematology, and her name is Mary Ra Kwesi, and you'll see what she has to say about their beliefs as far as the God concept, if you want to call it that, where originally it was just planet worship, and then they thought up things according to their own desires. You will see her say this, that they felt this and they felt that, and then they thought this and then they thought that, and they put this here and they put that there. So we're gonna see what this belief is. Bismillah. Here we go.
Personification of God on earth, and the African woman looked at herself as the personification of Goddess on earth.
Again, let's hear that again.
The personification of God on earth, and the African woman looked at herself as the personification of Goddess on earth.
Again, let's hear that one more time.
The personification of God on earth, and the African woman looked at herself as the personification of goddess on earth. And in fact, when we...
So, first things first. Here we notice that she says, now, the other part you may have not have heard, she said that the African man, not all African men, but the African man looked at himself as God on earth. Then she said the African woman looked upon herself as goddess on earth. Okay? So automatically, this was showing that people just made up, you know, their thoughts as they studied the planetary observation. So indeed, according to her, this is what they did, and we will continue with this.
See, the creator deity, known as the plinth, it was known as Ma'at. And this was a sturdy base for which the deities and the kings used to set their throne on. Ma'at was the primary quality of the firm foundation. So in essence, the whole Kemetic society was based on an African woman known as Ma'at. And she was shown with her wings widespread and the ostrich feather on her head. She was the symbol of cosmic harmony, and she gave balance and order to all things. And she represents...
Now, I must say, and I must admit, that our women, they are the wombs from which we come from. And according to Islam, we are, and originally, we are to respect the wombs that bore us. And they are indeed are the ummi, the mother, from which we come out of. So they are, in a sense, a foundation for us. That is not a problem in Islam to accept that. But when you get to saying, because of that, you know, there's the God and then there's the goddess on the earth, and that we just assume things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not wanted that. And so, I will now turn you to another aspect of this type of concept in which they assumed and speculated. Bear with me for a second. Now, some of you are thinking of leaving Islam because they said Islam is a slaveholding religion. And what you do not understand is that some Turks, some people came into Islam, learned Arabic culture, and yes, there was some captivities going on. But if you truly understood Islam, you would understand that only captives we are truly, according to the Quran, we're allowed to take are those who fight us in war, trying to stop us from spreading Islam and teaching Islam. And we hold them in captivity. But Islam does not allow you to just go out there and just snatch people up, just walking down the street and put them in slavery. Any person who did that is spreading facade on the earth, which is mischief, and the punishment clearly for corruption on the earth, and the Quran is rooted, the punishment is death. So that is not a problem. Now, so some of you guys are leaving this deen, some of you are leaving this deen and choosing to go away from Islam because of this type of teaching and stuff, but they're sitting here going away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and instead embracing his belief. I want you to look at this. I want you to look at this where they say the sun, or the yes, I believe it was the sun, Ra, comes from. And you tell me if it's a logical assumption. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's an assumption. It's a guesswork. It is something that they made up. And you guys are going to leave this Deen al-Haq for this? You want true liberation? You get it through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and implementing this Deen al-Haq. That's how you get it. You take the general principles of Islam that talks about fighting oppression, and you apply it to your specific situation of your people. But this is the belief that they say where Ra, or the sun god, or the sun comes from. Listen closely. Okay, here we go. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Here about the lotus, the seshin, and this was used by the priestesses because the lotus had a variety of qualities. It was qualities.
Hold on, let's go.
So that was the manat, and usually it's associated with the deity Heteru. We spoke earlier about the lotus, the seshin, and this was used by the priestesses because the lotus had a variety of qualities. It was said to have regenerative qualities. Ra, in fact, was said to emerge from the lotus, and that was because of the center part of the lotus looked very much like the sun. So lotus had a variety of qualities.
Okay, so what we see here is, according to this priestess who studies the walls of Egypt, she says that the sun, or the Ra, comes from this lotus. Okay, the sun comes from this lotus flower. I guess we're going to call it a sunflower. Okay, but a lotus gives birth to the sun. Because they assumed, they did nothing but guess, they did nothing but lie. They said, the Kemetic, the Egyptology, they said that Ra came from the lotus flower. Okay, and the reasoning behind this was because of the look of the flower. Subhanallah. You're going to leave that? You're going to leave Allah, who created all things, for that? Do you not have no sense? They throw to you phrases about slavery, and they get you whipped up, and they play word games and say, well, Ib, Ra, and Him must mean this and must mean that. Another speculative tool. So again, let's look at this and see, and I want you to hear one more time what she has to say on this subject.
Associated with the deity Heteru. We spoke earlier about the lotus, the seshin, and this was used by the priestesses because the lotus had a variety of qualities. It was said to have regenerative qualities. Ra, in fact, was said to emerge from the lotus.
Emerge from the lotus.
And that was because of the center part of the lotus looked very much like the sun. So therefore,
So the sun came from the flower because the flower is yellow like the sun. I mean, which one is first? If the sun looks like the flower, how did it emerge from the flower? Because it looks like the sun. Or is the sun first? But another cosmology says that, Newt, which is the space, they made it and then it swallows the sun and then it brings it back out. Okay? Now, some will say that maybe perhaps this is metaphorical, but in another one of her teachings at an initiation, you will find she says the same thing as she is initiating people into the craft of chematology. But I want you to hear this one more time, because 3 times is the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why is the sun here? Here we go.
This was used by the priestesses because the lotus had a variety of qualities. It was said to have regenerative qualities. Ra, in fact, was said to emerge from the lotus, and that was because of the center part of the lotus looked very much like the sun. So therefore, you see on not only on the jewelry, but on the temples, you'll also see the lotus symbol as well as on the sarcophagus. So that's why when we had our ceremony, when our sisters came forth as part of the initiation, we used the lotus. It actually goes back to the tomb of Raqmara. You can see it over 3,000 years ago, to the 18th dynastic period. And we see our sisters offering the wesket or collar as well as the...
So now, make no mistake about it. She did not lie to you. It was not a metaphor. Indeed, the sun, according to chematology, from a priest who studies on the wall, says clearly, the sun comes from the lotus flower. Have you no sense? Have you not no logic by Allah, who split the seas and created the human soul? Allahu Akbar. Do you believe this, Ikhwani and Ukhti? Come on, don't throw your Islam away because people are taking half bits of half stories. They don't tell you that the Nubians, and understand this, I am for against all oppression, but especially I'm against and I focus on the oppression of black African people who have been oppressed the longest and the hardest. Okay? And so I want you to understand this is not an anti-African thing. This is not an anti-black thing. For those of you who may not understand this, some people would label what I'm saying as anti-African. No, it's anti-logic. Okay? And this is from a primary source, not a secondary source. These are from sources, the main source. Okay? And this is them explaining the belief. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click Mary Rada Kwesi, who is the wife of a priest named Asher Kwesi. And we're going to go to some initiations that, okay, and this is the initiation right here. I want you to listen to what she says about the flower again, so you don't think it's just me.
Hotep, my brothers and sisters. We have 3 sisters who are coming forth today into the Satut Ma'at. That is the daughters of Ma'at. These sisters have traveled with us repeatedly. They have recognized that they are part of a spiritual development, of movement for the liberation of African people. I'm going to call forth 3 sisters. That will be Sister Ellen Henderson. Please come forward.
We're going to skip. Hold on.
Sister.
Hold on.
And turn and face this way.
She can be on
Sister Nick Beck, please come forward. Please, educated sister. A sister who shows us parts all of the information she learns to others. Our sister is a very dedicated sister. A sister who shows us skill and grace.
Now I want you to pay attention to this flower over here that she has. Okay? It's going to be over here. And I want you to listen to her words, what she says by Allah. Okay? Inshallah. Inshallah. Liberation for our people and against any oppression comes only through the Deen al-Haq. Allah puts a spirit of zealotry in the mu'min who goes forward in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, here we go. When she rises her up, watch. Listen. I believe this.
And regeneration. So, Sister Sheila, let's rise up and please sniff the sacred session. It was said that Ra, the sun, was the one who emerged from the sacred session and came to life. And now, Sister Sheila, you too will come to life. We're now going...
Stop. Did you hear that? She said the sacred Shashem, that Ra the sun emerged from it. This flower. Okay, hold on. That flower right there, the sun came from that and came to life. Subhanallah. And that when this son came to life, she will now have regeneration just like the son had generation from this flower. You're leaving that for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You're leaving that? Is that gonna liberate you? Is that flower gonna liberate you? What if the sun goes near this flower, its mother or father? Will the sun burn it up? Do you have no sense? Do you not reason? Or are there locks on your heart? Or is it that they made up things like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said? They did nothing but zanna, conjecture, guesswork. And they did nothing but rasoon. They did nothing but lie. Is that the truth, people? Is that the haqq? Did the sun come from that? Did the sun emerge from that? Is this the creator of all things? Is this the source of Ra? Is that the source of the hidden energy Ra? If Nar comes near this, will he kill it? Will he get rid of it? People, think. You must think. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, they are but names. You have named you and your ancestors, for which Allah has not sent down any authority. They follow nothing except conjecture. They do nothing but lie. Also, this ayat says, they assume conjecture zanna, and they do nothing but yaksharasun. They do nothing but lie. And in the other ayat, they say they follow nothing except assumption. In Surah 53:23, they follow nothing except assumption, guesswork. And whatever their souls desire, whatever their thoughts desire, whatever their mind comes up with, they made these things up, brothers and sisters. And then they made it into a science. No doubt the ancients also studied planets and they got some things right. But you cannot say that the sun came from a flower. That's just illogical. And you're getting initiated. This is not something simple right here. Do you see the initiation? They're being initiated. When you get initiated into something, that means you're earning a degree up. You're earning a degree into what? Learning that the sun comes from a flower and that the sun is actually a sunflower or something like that. Subhanallah Adhim. I will let this play out again because the way of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is the repeated thing 3 times. I want you to see this. I want you to reflect. And I want you to look at this sincerely and ask inside your heart, do you really want to go to something like that? Inshallah. I'll come up with more series. I didn't make it up. Don't be mad at me. They said it. I didn't say it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the initiation into chematology. Bismillah.
To life. And now, Sister Sheila, he sniffed the sacred session. It was said that Ra, the sun, was the one who emerged from the sacred session. So, Sister Sheila, let's rise up and please sniff the sacred session. It was said that Ra, the sun, was the one who emerged from the sacred session. Up and please sniff the sacred session. It was said that Ra, the sun, was the one who emerged from the sacred session. It was said that Ra, the sun, was the one who emerged from the sacred session. It was said that Ra, the sun, was the one who emerged from the sacred session. Ra, the sun, was the one who emerged from the sacred session. Ra, the sun, was the one who emerged from the sacred session and came to life. And now Ra, the sun, was the one who emerged from the sacred session and came to life. And now, Sister Sheila, you too will come to life. We're now
the sun came to life from the lotus flower. That is your creator of Ra. Do you believe it? Do you reflect? You can bring up 1,000 other stories from Kemet, 1,000 other stories from Egyptology, to even try to contradict that one. It doesn't matter. This is your belief that you are initiated into. You have to accept it. It is your priest. Subhanallah, then submit to Allah. Advance on the oppressors. Any who has put people in slavery, you come up on them. If they say they're a Muslim, they cannot be doing fasad. If they do fasad, you check them according to the book of Allah, and you get on them according to the book of Allah, and you implement the Sharia of the book of Allah upon them, and dispatch them from the face of this earth, and send them back to Allah, where Allah will put them in the blazing fire forever for the oppression on earth. Inshallah. So please, please do not be fooled by anyone who comes and talks about some type of African liberation. I'm not saying that don't work with people. I think that's enough for now. I'm not saying don't work with people. I'm not saying don't join hands in common cause against oppression. It's not what I'm saying. Nor am I saying not to address an issue that is very important. I also would like to say Ramadan Kareem, that this is the month that the Quran has been revealed. Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. And I would like to say to you too, those of you out there, that is true. Those of you who do not know, the African, the blacks, those of us in the Ma'afa have suffered so long oppression in various different ways that you do not know. And so some of you don't comprehend, nor do you understand. Then it is not for me to explain it to you right now. It's only for me to urge those who do to gather them. Okay? But I will not, under a false guise of brotherhood and liberation, have people come and try to tear Deen al-Haq, Islam, down and tell me I can't say nothing about it. Subhanallah Azim, if they expected it, then they was a liar. Allah created the sun. The culture of Islam goes back to Yemen, Kush. And what I mean by Kush is the Kushites dwelled in Yemen, which is ancient, quote-unquote, Arabia, which Africans dwelt there. That was the land of the Africans came to first. I'm saying that that culture is originally indigenous in Africa, and that Islam stems up out of that culture. None but the ignorant will deny this. I'm not here to argue with nobody. Okay, but what you have to understand is that Islam is the only answer to true zealotry in the heart, to get rid of these oppressors. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, none else. And if you want to accept something else, that's fine. We can still link on common cause that our people are being oppressed, and we can work together. But if you come to me, you're trying to be hostile to my Islam. And I'm saying Islam, I'm not saying that you are calling to question some people that oppressed. You know, in Islam it says, you know, that we are risen up as an example unto mankind. Okay? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a mercy, rahmatil alameen, to mankind. Okay? But I do not have to go worship a planet or a star or a sashan, a lotus flower. And you're telling me that the sun comes from it. And then you're telling me that the space or the womb in space, Newt, swallows Ra, her son. Again, this is not disrespect to chematology at all, but this is a fact. How many of you have bashed Islam? And finally I said, you know, I will come out a little bit about this issue, because I've been trying to, you know, bring people together. But subhanallah, then you will not disrespect the Deen al-Haq. Like Malik Shabazz said, may Allah be pleased, and may that martyr be in both Malik Shabaz's. If you keep your way of life, your religious concept at home, and we come together on a common unity that we have a common oppressor, we'll get along just fine. Of course, if we're mature minds, then we can talk about those things, but we should never let it to get in the way of the goal of actually doing something about this oppressor. Okay? But you cannot continuously beat the Islam and then throw some Turks and some Persians, the few out of the lot of other Africans who are Muslim that did great, and they learn the Turks learned some Arabic, and then they did some captivity, some slavery here and there. Or the Moors, when they went to Spain, they lived there for 800 years. We've been in America for 400 years. America for 400 years, and a lot of us have become different. You're talking about an extra 400 years where them Moors were in Spain. You think there are different people by then? Most of them had Spanish blood, Portuguese blood. Okay, these were not really Moors then. These were Portuguese. These were Spanish, but they, you know, they say they believed in Allah, and they came through Black Africa, and they did take some captives and some slaves. But Islam liberated many slaves. When Islam came into Egypt, it was black, it was African looking, you know, Arabs, those who spoke Arabic, liberated Egypt. And it was the Nubians who had finally given up to the Greeks, who had ran since Alexander the Greek, or Macedonia some say, he ran Egypt. And the Nubians, after around the 25th dynasty after Taharqa, they finally just gave up, and eventually a lot of them became Christian, and you know, they let Egypt just go. And this is the type of belief that some of them were following. You think I'm going to go to that? You think I'm going to give up La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah for that? We're not talking now about a common cause and a common oppressor. We're talking about a belief, an assumed belief, an assumption that Ra, the sun, comes from a lotus flower, according to your priestess. I'm not gonna go to that. Anybody that goes to that is a fool. As far as meaning, you're going blindly following. You're not using logic. Okay? I know when I look at the sun that it is powerful, and I know that whatever being created that sun is even more powerful than it. And if it's hard for me to even look at the sun and I get blinded, I know the deity, the one, the eternal one who made it, is even more hard to look at. And I don't even have to try to look at it because I can't even look at it. You can't, none of you can point out the one who created all things in a you can't point him out physically. But you know it exists by looking at his sign, its sign, I should say. Okay? But by Allah who created the human soul, by Allah who created the African soul, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. He's Allah, the one, unique, eternal, absolute, self-sufficient. He begets not, nor is he begotten, and there is none comparable to him. The lotus flower did not beget the sun. You know it and I know it. That's an assumption. That's guesswork. Allah's talked about they do nothing but these names they made up, these characteristics, these attributes, they're made up. They sat there. Another ayat says, when it is said to them, come to what Allah has revealed to his messenger, they say, we follow our ancestors, and that is enough for us. What? Even if they didn't have knowledge, even if they were not guided rightly, that's not guidance. That's not knowledge. Sure, sometimes they charted the heavens and earth, no doubt about that. Sure, they took cements and they did math and they equated. But this is assumption. This is guesswork. This is guesswork to its finest. Okay? That's guesswork. And the Quran was right about that. See, the Quran is an answer for what you're talking about. You think you're the first person that came to a Muslim? The Prophet ﷺ dealt with people who made up names and attributes. The Prophet ﷺ dealt with people who had gods and goddesses, feminine and masculine aspects. And nothing is wrong with feminine and masculine aspects because Islam bears witness to that. But we do not say Allah is masculine and Allah himself is feminine. Allah is neither. Though some of the attributive words in Arabic have a feminine tone and a masculine tone. Okay? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is neither. Ar-Rahman, for example. I hear people use this example. Ar-Rahman. Rahm means a womb. But a word has two parts. It has the literal aspect and it has its functionary aspect. What is a functionary aspect? It means what that thing may do. And from that other words are derived. Okay? So, for example, Rahma, a room does what? It takes care. It sustains. It gives life. It maintains. So from that action, you say the maintainer, the caretaker, the sustainer. Right? Rahim. Okay? Allah will maintain and take care and sustain those who believe in Him on the day of judgment, in the hereafter. Okay? So this will be series 1 of this. But inshallah, I'm going to leave you with this. Praise and glory belongs to Allah, who created you and your ancestors, and the lotus flower, and the sun, and the moon, and the womb that you call Nut. He created Samawat, the heavens. That's Nut. And in it has feminine and masculine energies. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by you looking at those things, you know it's greater than that. So come to what Allah has for you and His messenger has given you from that. In the zealotry of the mu'min may enter to your heart, and you will punish your enemies by Allah. You'll put the zealotry in your heart and unite you together, and He will drive you against your oppressors and enemies. There's nothing wrong with working with everybody else from any type of belief at all. Some Muslims have gone extremes in one way or another. We cannot deny the truth of that, and I would never deny that, because I even speak against that. But we must have a balance here. Just because you're a brother who is oppressed and you have rights on me through blood and kinship does not mean, and through tribe and stuff like that does not mean that I sacrifice Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means that I tell you about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then I tell you the logic, and then I point out the illogic, and you accept what is correct, and you leave alone from whatever of guesswork or assumptions that the culture may have brung in that you followed before or you kept. You leave that part alone, and the good stuff you keep. That doesn't go against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, because this is wahi. You see, this is wahi. Okay, wahi is not like guesswork. Wahi is revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created all things. The minute that you start guessing and you start thinking that the sun, the rock comes from a lotus flower, something's wrong. You can't get liberation like that. You can't get liberation like that. So inshallah, may Allah guide our hearts to the right course and right way. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm leaning real low down, so I'm one with the TV, but actually, if I sit all the way up, no. Inshallah, none of you take it in the wrong way, but if you do, Allahu Akbar. You know, the truth must be told. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Not just for the Muslim.